Najeela the Blade Blossom has just won, not one, but 2 tournaments. Across the world we have magic happening all over the place. Salt City Rock Salt was won by Matthias Salazar. And Commander Invasion 2023 was won by Jan Wegner. In this video we're gonna take a look at both of their deck lists to try and get an idea of what they are kind of up to and how to potentially build Najeela. But also utilize tournament statistics to try to figure out what cards could potentially be good. But let's begin with this one right here. From this tournament we have now acquired a few more decks, and Najeela's average win rate is currently at 25.09%. But I have also added the DAT value plus 0.39%. That means I'm currently calculating continuously and noticing if commanders are increasing in win rate and decreasing in win rate. The plan is to have something of a leaderboard in the future. So to give you some perspective what that like 25 actually like means, we have Magda, didn't actually participate, but she's currently on a 21.72 average win rate from 44 decks total that have entered into tournaments. Kess dropped by 1.24%. Joyra increased by 0.62%. Atraxa is still the commander with the best win rate so far. She actually dropped by 0.18, which is like nothing. It's probably gonna go up and down, things like that, so to say. So it's not really a drop, I would say. cEDh actually dropped by 0.14. She actually has better win rate than Najeela. That actually matters to me. So Najeela is sitting on 25.09, while cEDh is on 25.27. So cEDh is better. Very important takeaway. Let's not drag that out. Let's get back to here. So here we have Mnemonic Betrayal. Now the average win rate isn't like that important, because there are decks that are including very fringe cards. For example, Gilded Drake. Now the win rate is suddenly in red, 22.08%, and a drop by 3.01%. You see, what we're doing here is we're creating a group of decks. From those 214, we have 48 that did include Gilded Drake. Looking at that average win rate, we get 22.08. And then looking at Mnemonic Betrayal, we have 142 decks, including that, and they are getting an average win rate by 27.13. So the average win rate doesn't actually matter that much. It really doesn't. What you need to look at is how we can calculate from the average. To make my point even more clear, there are decks that are actually including Marnus Kalagar inside their Najeela build, like 4 decks actually included that guy, and I can see why, because whenever Najeela attacks you draw a card. However, if you look at the average win rate from those 4 decks that entered with this kinda expensive Esper guy, their average dropped a lot. Now, I would also like to point out that the result is not statistically significant, so that win rate actually isn't a trustworthy result, but still I'm kind of showcasing that there are people who enter into tournaments with Najeela decks that I'm gonna say are suboptimal. So let's focus on good players. Now, Jan Wegner have actually entered into 5 tournaments. And if we calculate the wins, loss and draws, he's getting this amazing result. Now, 5 games isn't like that much, or okay, it's actually quite a lot, or it's pretty good. But it's very hard to say that that's like very secure win rate that we can trust. But still, Jan Wegner have entered into 5 games and he has actually performed quite well from that. So let's focus on his deck list that he brought to Commander Invasion. Bird of Paradise, Darevi, Dockside, Elvish Spirit Guide, Esper Sentinel, Grand Abolisher, Grim Hireling, Samut, Ranger, Ragavan, Phantasmal, Noble, Lofo, Ignoble, Simian, Phasas, and Tinderwall. I would like to mention that like there are a few auto-includes like Dockside Extortionist, Mr. Cremora, Command Tower, Vamp Tutor, City of Brass, Demonic Tutor, Misty Rainforest, Fierce Guardianship, Soul Ring, and Deflecting Sword, and Fastest Oracle as well, by the way, are all auto-includes. They were played in 100% all of the Najeela decks. But some of the cards he played there are performing very good. Lofo is doing a 25.9, I'm gonna say 26 average win rate on that one. Ranger Captain is also in the green, 25.36. Samut, Vizier of Naktamun, is increasing the win rate by 0.82. It has an average win rate of 25.91 from 127 decks. So it's heavily played. It has an inclusion rate of about 60%. The big pie chart there are in how many are playing it. Grand Abolisher, it's pretty much an auto-include if I'm gonna be honest. And Grim Hireling is also something of an auto-include, sitting on a 25.11 average win rate. But it's also playing Mnemonic Betrayal. We did look at that one. It has an increase by 2%, basically a 25 average win rate on the Mnemonic Betrayal, so it's performing quite well. Culling Ritual, Beshide Mirror, Demonic Tutor was an auto-include by every single deck, Sevene's, Diabolic Intent, Eldritch, Gamble and Imperial Seal, and Rite of Flame. Wow, Culling Ritual is actually performing really well. So it has an inclusion rate by 77.1%, so 165 decks are actually including it, and it's sitting on an average win rate of 26.47. And let's actually quickly look at Mnemonic Betrayal again. It has basically very similar win rate, these two. They are not super similar, but very close. They're going hand in hand. Every Eldritch Evolution is basically identical to the average win rate. Rite of Flame, however, seems to be performing quite good, 25.96 on the average win rate. Diabolic Intent is also doing good, 25.41. Beshide Mirror, on the other hand, is not performing the best. However, it's a new card and it demands a little bit of playtesting. As you can see there, result is not statistically significant. Only 18 decks so far have included it. So we can't trust the statistics, but I would like just to showcase it anyways. I'm gonna update this so you will see the progress over time. And then, among instants, we have Adnos. And we should also scroll down. Underworld Breach, and the One Ring, Witchclaw Talisman, Tainted Pact, obviously because we're playing fast as Intuition, Sevene's Intuition are great together, Final Fortune. This mono red double red card is actually pretty good. So Final Fortune is sitting on 25.89. It's increasing the average win rate by 0.8. Very high inclusion rate, about 89%. And Adnos is also performing amazing. But let's actually make it a little bit more advanced to get a good picture of the direction that Najeela should be taking. Here we're looking at the combination. Now we're looking at decks that are including both Adnos and Grim Hireling together, excluding every deck that don't include either or just include one of them. We're getting a much smaller inclusion rate by that, but let's look at this. Looking at Grim Hireling, and now we're including every deck that are including Grim Hireling, we're getting an average win rate of 25.11. But when you're including Adnos, the win rate basically goes up. And also look at this. Here we have an average win rate from Adnos and Grim Hireling together at 25.92. Looking at only Adnos, 25.66. So it seems to be an indication, in my opinion, that you should be going for the Grixis core game plan with Adnos, Underworld Breach, and the Najeela combos, so to say. That is what's making Najeela, in my opinion, quite strong, because you can pivot. If you play Najeela, they destroy Najeela, or Draenei Magistrate. You're not thrown out of the waters, you still have your Adnos. Or Underworld Breach for that matter too. As you can see here, with Underworld Breach, Grim Hireling's average win rate is a little bit better. And as you can see here, the indication seems to be that looking at individually, Adnos, including all decks that play Adnos, 191 decks, if we demand that we play both Underworld Breach and Adnos, 174 decks, and the win rate goes up a tiny bit. We could of course become a little bit more aggressive on this. Here we are including all decks that are including Adnos, Derevi and Grim Hireling, excluding every other deck that doesn't contain all three. And here you can see an average win rate by 25.83. If we're looking at decks that are including Adnos, Grim Hireling and Underworld Breach and ignoring every other deck that don't include all three, we're getting an average win rate by 26.19. An inclusion rate of I'm gonna say 70%, basically 148 decks are including all three. But there are some bad eggs, or not bad eggs, but lower, so to say. So Druid's Repository, Grim Hireling and Derevi, all three together, we have an inclusion rate of 18.2%. Basically 39 decks were playing all these three, and you get an average win rate by 24.61. And some Najeela combos have pretty much died out. Nature's Will apparently isn't really performing that well. When we're looking at decks that are including Derevi, Grim Hireling and Nature's Will, we only have 7 decks that did that, which is not statistically significant. But a very low inclusion rate also indicates that that kind of combo or suggestion might be a bad one. As you can see here, the 3 cards together perform a 19.31 average win rate. So going back to his deck, we really see exactly that kind of stuff. So we have Grim Hireling, the Revi, we have the Adnos, we saw that that was a very good combination. We have Underworld Breach, we did see that that was a very good combination. So I really think that this kind of deck that we're looking at right now is kind of spot on towards the direction you should be going on. But I wanna say congratulations and a shout out to Matthias Salazar as well. Now so far he's only entered with Najeela into 2 tournaments, so we can't say that much, but he seems to be knowing what he's doing. So the first tournament he had 1 win, 3 losses, a 25 average win rate. Second, he won the whole thing with 4 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw. And he's playing close to the same stuff, with some tweaks. We have Grim Hireling, Derevi, we have Adnos, we have Underworld Breach, and we do have Druid's Repository. I mean, sometimes it works out. He's playing Mnemonic Betrayal and Culling Ritual. Both of them have, as you can see, been playing Culling Ritual and Mnemonic Betrayal. Both are playing Sevines, and in that case, the Intuition. Sometimes I'm blind. It should be here. Is he not playing Intuition? There it is, there it is. Of course he's playing Intuition. We should take a quick look at Sevin's Reclamation for Najeela and the performance of how that is kinda working out. So 25.88 average win rate, and Intuition is sitting a little bit higher, 26.12. Wait, this is interesting. So Sevin's Reclamation is sitting on a 185 decks that have entered with it, and as you can see here, Intuition, if you focus on play it, that's the amount of decks that have actually included Intuition. There are decks that have included Sevin's Reclamation without Intuition, which is fine. I mean, if your Derevi dies, you can use your Sevin's Reclamation to get your Derevi back. Wait, this is a new card, Everybody Lives. We don't have any statistics on this, because it's an extremely new card. All creatures gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Players gain hexproof and until end of turn. Players can't lose life. Wait, players can't lose life this turn, and players can't lose the game or win the game this turn. So it's a combination of Angel's Grace that is preventing you from losing the game to Thassa's Oracle, and you can draw your entire deck with Adnos. But it's also giving all your creatures hexproof and indestructible. So it functions like a Protect Najeela and all the tokens you have acquired and a Angel's Grace, except it's 1 colorless more mana. But it has more utility. It doesn't have Split Second. Actually, I kinda like it. It's hard to say if it's actually gonna stick around. Like, it's a very new card, so we don't have any data on it, but I think it could be good. I mean, it fits into this kind of deck because Najeela beats Najeela tokens, that's a thing. Both of the players were playing the One Ring, and that seems to be a very good decision. So we have an inclusion rate of 30.4%, 65 decks have been including it, and it's sitting on an average win rate by 26.65. And I've looked at the One Ring, it's a new card, so it doesn't have that huge inclusion rate yet, but it's showcasing a pretty good average win rate in almost all situations where a commander is including it. There are a few that don't actually get a better win rate from it, but those decks are more like on the turbo concept. Or all-in, I should say, like all-in win, now turbo. Wait, he's playing Shatterfang, Squirrel General. Ugh. And I'm happy to showcase that that is not a good suggestion. So Shatterfang Squirrel General is a very popular card among some Najeela players, and I've never really liked it. So it has an inclusion rate of 14%, 30 decks have actually included it into tournaments, and okay, it's actually sitting on a very identical win rate to the total average on 24.83. So maybe it's actually working okay-ish, but I still personally don't like it. Salazar is playing Final Fortune and Chance for Glory, while Jan Wegner is only including Final Fortune, and none of them are actually playing Born Upon a Wind. So Final Fortune is sitting on a 25.89 average win rate with a very high inclusion rate, close to 90%. Basically 191 decks have included it. And if we take a look at Chance for Glory. Now, by the way, result is not statistically significant because the inclusion rate is not that high. We have a 20% that have actually included it, but it's sitting on an amazing 27.45% average win rate. And I've actually done something special here. So if we're looking at this, Final Fortune, where we excluded Chance for Glory. So the group we're looking at are all including Final Fortune, but none of the decks are including Chance for Glory. So as you can see here, Final Fortune's win rate, when you're including every deck that have Final Fortune in it, is 25.89%. When you exclude a bunch of Chance for Glories that are inside those Final Fortune decks, your win rate actually decrease. The indication could potentially be that here we have 191 decks including Final Fortune, and we have 151 decks that are including Final Fortune but don't include Chance for Glory. Their win rate actually goes down a tiny bit. So the suggestion could be something like that Chance for Glory and Final Fortune together is not too much. Among all the all-in extra turn red cards, Final Fortune is the best. You have Warrior's Oath. Born Upon the Wind also kind of falls a tiny bit into this category. I actually did take a look at that as well. So as you can see here, we have a very similar pattern. Final Fortune, we have 191 decks, average win rate 25.89%. When we are excluding Born Upon the Wind, we're dropping down by basically, 20 decks. And the average win rate goes down a tiny bit. So the suggestion might be that you should potentially play both. Before we wrap up this video, I'd like to showcase a few more cards that are worthy mentions. Summoner's Pact, sitting on a 50-50 split, like half the population are actually playing it or don't play it. So we have an average win rate of 27.24. That's pretty good. Tarnished Citadel seems to be a good suggestion as well. It's a land, but still. City of Traitors. I personally believe City of Traitors is very good right now because we're very focused on early turns. We don't have that many turns in this format, so the part where you have to sacrifice it isn't that big of a deal compared to having 2 colorless mana from a land. And as you can see, City of Traitors is sitting on a 26.54 average win rate. And then, obviously, we should just showcase Ancient Tomb. I personally think this could be an auto include, in my personal opinion. Culling Ritual actually has a better win rate than I thought it would get inside Najeela. I mean, you have tokens, but mostly you're sacrificing your mana dork for a very early ad nauseum here. Speaking of ad nauseum, Mana Vault inside Najeela seems to be a good suggestion as well. And I can actually kinda see that because once again the One Ring is actually producing some good result, and Mana Vault will really help out getting that ad nos to resolve. Once again, big shout out to Matthias Salazar and Jan Wegner. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But I would also like to give a shout out and thank you to EDH Top 16 and the Eminence game that have developed the website where I am pulling the data from. And as always, if you want to take a look at the deck list and such, link in the description below of the video. Also, this concept is developing more and more and it's improving a little bit here and there. And if you have any feedback or suggestions or specific questions regarding Najeela and some of the statistics, maybe I didn't showcase a specific card you're interested in, so leave that question, feedback or a comment in the description below, comments as well. Take care, guys. I see you next time.